Steve, we've been doing this for, just said 5 years now, or about 5 years. Still not really fully certain on how to do all the technical stuff on this, but we're trying, aren't we?
Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay. I almost forgot to press record on my side, which is essential because
they'd have figured that out at some point.
Yeah. I mean, we have 2 recordings as a backup, and I've used the "oh crap, Steve" backup several times. But this one would have been a little bit my fault. We wouldn't have had a YouTube video. So, anyways, hi. This is the Stuff Summer Says podcast with
Steve.
What is Steve? How are you?
Wonderful.
Okay.
It's a podcast.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm eager, excited. I think we're in for a good show, as they say on the late night shows. You're already.
I don't stay up that late, so if you think so, that's great.
When's the last time you watched a late night show? Like a not
that long ago, but I mean 3 weeks, month.
Oh, okay. It's
not that crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, did you say Conan?
Well, that's for whatever reason.
That would have been a while.
I know, but Conan is like my default. Like I didn't even watch Conan.
I was gonna say, did you? Okay, yeah.
No,
yeah.
No. I was a Colbert and the Colbert Report and Jon Stewart's Daily Show.
Okay,
that was my usual late night.
Jimmy Fallon's our clean, happy joy guy because he doesn't get in much trouble. And then Colbert, if I'm up, and yeah. Okay. And I don't do Kimmel much. I mean, I know he's maybe he has, I don't know who has the best ratings of the group.
I don't. Anyways, that's right. That's what we're going to talk about this show. We're going to talk about
there you go. You tuned in for
TV.
sports, Penn State sports at late night TV.
Yep, that's exactly what you came here. Nope. Speaking of late night, we are going to talk about Penn State men's hockey, which played a late night game. People were
nice there. Good job.
Very fired up about that. You had a really good question for me the other day that we didn't get to last week, but I want to get to today because I think it's a thinker, and I think it's a good question. And then we are going to unveil our first ever class for the Penn State Sports Hall of Fame. Plus, we have old guy, young guy. So thanks for hanging out with us, whatever day of the week it is. Okay, let us talk about the Frozen Four. Let's talk about Penn State playing in the Frozen Four for the first time. Let's talk about a couple different things, I think. Let's start with the big picture, and then maybe we can work our way back to the small picture, if that's okay. In that, as I wrote this morning or published this morning, I think what the biggest change or the biggest difference or what the true impactfulness of this season was for Penn State men's hockey wasn't that they just reached a Frozen Four, wasn't that they went on this incredible run. It was that they changed the way we collectively talk about Penn State men's hockey and look at Penn State men's hockey and consider it, for lack of a better term, a more serious sport now at Penn State. And I think a lot of that pertains to, for the first 10 years of the program's existence, it was more about the building that they played in as opposed to the output on the ice, so to speak. And I don't think that's necessarily fair to people that are in the know or coaches, players, people around the program, etc. But for the Penn State Nittany Nation community writ large, that's what people looked at, that's what people talked about, that's what people did. And I think this program or this season changed all of that. People were talking about the play on the ice. They were learning players' names. They were talking about what Guy Gadowski was doing. I even saw people complaining about players' performance the way they complain about other sports players' performance. I think collectively that was the biggest takeaway, and I think that was why the Frozen Four was such a big deal. And I think that was what changed this season as we kind of look back, and then we can dive into the Frozen Four itself specifically.
So I'm just following your logic, and it's a question for you to confirm to me. Okay. So this is bigger than players being drafted because it's the program overall as opposed to one player's talent who comes through for a period of time, right? Like the first draft pick was big. Now we've had a second or third, since then there's half dozen more. But this is more validating program-wise, you're saying, than any of that so far. Correct? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I agree with you, or I understand what you're getting at. Do you think the average Penn State fan, when I say that, goes to a couple Penn State football games this season or tunes into Penn State football games this season, knows Penn State has a hockey program, knows there's a volleyball program, wrestling program. Do you think they could name you any of the three Penn Staters that are in the NHL or that have made it to the NHL?
Oh, I'm not sure they could name 3 players in the team this year.
Okay. I think that's why I say this was more about the program and changing the program ultimately.
Yeah, because I think you're right about the building, right? Like the first couple of years, it was, we built our student section as steep as code would allow to make them right on top of the ice, right? At some point, right, you kind of have to laugh at that, like you said. There's been this happy to have it phase, right? We got hockey, we're happy to have it. I think now there probably are a few more casual fans, and I think that was true the past couple of seasons and this season when they were struggling, right? Like casual fans who are showing up, or maybe hardcore fans who are showing up because they're not playing well. Like last year, there was a period, and they're still setting attendance record. They're still setting attendance record for a Friday night or a Saturday night. This season, even early on, when they were still where they were owing, people were showing up. Right. So I think that's in part the core people protecting it and maybe seeing how good it's in, and maybe they're close. But I think it's also some casual fans saying, "Hey, this is a pretty good event. I'm going to go there. It's going to be 2.5 hours long. It's loud. It's raucous. It's fun." I might not all that's going on there, but I know they make a big loud horn noise when the goal goes in the net, and people yell and scream. And the student section's fun. If it's the right game, they have the banner they pull up for the one series a season. So yeah, I think it was validating. Yeah, I'll go there. There's a couple things we'll get to that I'm going to play cynical Steve on that you're probably going to have a problem with, but I think
that's why we do. I think
yes, it's validating.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go to the cynical Steve things because I think those probably sit more.
This is blasphemy, I'm sure, to hockey fans and perhaps to you. Building off of the steepest student section, blah 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 blah. We put them right on top of the ice. Okay. I went to Nashville 4 or 5 seasons ago when they played North Dakota, and it felt like the whole state of North Dakota was in Bridgestone Arena, 14,000 people, and the other 500 were wearing blue and white. I guess I'm hard pressed. Not hard pressed. I'm going to say hard pressed. Maybe that's the wrong word. You can correct me. I think the Roar Zone is very good. I think they're wonderful. I think it's a super student section. I haven't seen other ones across the country, but it's hard to believe we're the only ones who have the recipe to be the best in the country, right? But and as a Penn State coach and players, you have to say that. Our section's the best. It is whatever. But I don't know because I haven't been to other places. So I guess I'm asking you, Mr. College Hockey, more than me. Is this undoubtedly, unquestionably the best student section in America? Or do you just say that because you know it's your program and nobody's going to doubt you because there are people who are just covering your program?
I'm not going to plead the fifth here, but I am going to take a slight cop-out answer and think back to like the away coaches that are like, yeah, that's a tough place to play.
Okay.
And kind of like the little bit of shell shock, and it would be interesting to like pull up Penn State's like home and away record, home versus away splits over the last really since Pagola opened, that I think would tell that. I will say, and we talked about this a little bit with Tyler, and I was talking about this actually with a North Dakota grad recently. And you even when you went to Nashville that year, you kind of alluded to this, like, this is all they have, like in the sense that they don't have a football team that gets a bowl trip. And like particularly for the Orange Bowl this year, but really for any of the bowl games, the Citrus Bowl for crying out loud that we went to a few seasons ago, like Penn State fans invade that because that's the number one sport. For North Dakota, hockey is the number one sport. Denver it's the number one sport. A lot of these, BU is another perfect example. Maine is another great example of the ranking, so to speak, of where hockey sits amongst the school. I don't know that. I don't know that. Like, I haven't been to any or every college hockey arena. I think, but I do think it is. What is so impressive about Penn State is they quickly became one of the best. I think, and took all of the energy from across the street at Beaver Stadium and brought that into a 7,200 foot or 7,200 seat arena like that overnight, basically. And they're
better than Notre Dame. I've been to Notre Dame. There's no doubt about that. Like, I've been inside their arena for a regular season series. Clearly better than them. So yeah, Otherwise, yeah, I think you're right. I think this was. I think the season, the program was established, but the season probably amped it up to another level, right? And people will be anticipating the start of the season perhaps in a way they didn't. They have something to sell that they have at the start of the season that they've never had before. So I think that those are good things all the way around.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way of putting it. Now, I think on the flip side of all of that, I think in particular with the game against BU, Penn State got a little bit of a lesson of where they're at in terms of the other team has 14 NHL draft picks, and I forget what the number is of top 2 rounds, and Penn State has 3. Like it really showed there. And I think in particular in that game, like I think structurally it took Penn State 2 whole periods to figure out how to play them so that Penn State could play their style. It was more so BU forcing Penn State to play BU's style as opposed to Penn State making any cracks into that. I don't think Penn State played poorly, but I think that's also you run into that risk in these single elimination games. I would have been interested to see if that series was a 3-game series. Like I don't know if Penn State wins. I don't know if they win 5 times, but I think they could probably win 4 times if that goes to like
wait 4 times in a 3-game series.
No. Like if you had the 3-game series 10 times, I think Penn State would win 4 of those there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to dispute that because they're talented. I think the bell that I heard before the game started was when Coach Godowski was asked about their power play, and they're at 28. BU's at 28%, and he didn't use these words, but I thought I heard him say, we're going to make sure we don't get stuck shorthanded. Right. And so I don't know if that affected anything they might have normally done or prevented them from trying certain things or whatever else. But when he said that, I'm like, okay, they are going to make sure that doesn't happen. I don't know what that means, but I know that's not going to happen. Right. So.
Yeah, I think it took them honestly until well into the third period to figure out how to physically play in that game. For the most part. And I think the other thing is when you're playing a roster like that, and we see this when they play Minnesota or Michigan in the Big Ten, like one little mistake can actually pile up into one massive mistake. And really that's what happened on both of BU's first 2 goals or their main goals. That I think, like I said, I think knowing what I saw from Penn State this year, I don't think that was necessarily their best game, and they probably needed their best game. They needed the effort that they put together probably against either one of the Michigan games or the game against Maine in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. So. And I think conference foes, it's like NFL division foes, right? You just know each other better.
Right.
And even if the talent level is different, you just know them. You've seen them 4 times a season for whatever. I think it's tougher if somebody's this talented and you only see him once, except on film.
Right. No, and like I said, I think that's, and I think of the I had said last week, I think they were the 3rd best team that Penn State's played. They were the best team that Penn State has played this year. And I think on Saturday, if you watch the national championship game, Western Michigan probably played the style of game that Penn State wanted to play, but BU let them, so to speak, and whereas they did not let them against Penn State ultimately. So yeah, no, I think really this season changed a lot of things. I'm still interested by the ESPN of all of this. I thought they did a okay job with the broadcast. I thought they actually did a pretty good job with the national championship broadcast. They let the moment kind of build and didn't rush off air for the celebration, which I think captured the essence of that. I would like to see, for all the investment that ESPN has made in terms of hockey people, from Emily Kaplan to really any of the broadcasters, I would like to see a more A team in that situation. And like, they don't have a Saturday night hockey broadcast. I can't imagine that there's like that much going on now. I guess they do have sometimes have the weekend And I'm not asking for Sean McDonough per se, but like Bob Wischusen would be great for that. Like I think he would speak to that. And I know Butcher Grass loves college hockey, but like the other thing that was weird to me is it can't cost that much more to send a few people there to do a in-arena studio show type setup as it does to just kick it back to Bristol. And I thought that was a little bit of a miss. Just thinking about like in the context of what they do for the College World Series, or what they do for the even the wrestling national championships to a degree. They have a pretty robust staff calling matches and things like that. So
I think hockey fits kind of like where wrestling fits. I mean, talk about stuff like, hey, we bought the NCAA championships. We got the prizes are, women's basketball, the women's soccer, the men's College World Series, like of those second ones that aren't basketball and football, what they got the bowl games for football. These are the ones we have the NCAA deal with. These are the ones that are going to get A-team super stuff, and the rest of them, we're not like going half-hearted at, but we're not raising the flag the whole way, kind of.
Right.
And Bucci is college hockey, so there's that. Like, I think there is that piece of it, but there are probably a couple little things they could do to just make it feel bigger, if they wanted to.
I honestly think Butcher Grass is better served in the studio host role. As
maybe people just associate, they just love him because of college hockey people. He feels like, to a much lower degree of personality, they're Pat McAfee in some ways, right? Like their person.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So that would be my takeaway there. I know people were upset about the puck drop time of 10 o'clock Eastern, basically. That was a little late, I will admit. But I don't have a good solution, because like you can't play it. I don't think you can play it on a Saturday.
No, and the game in front of you goes double overtime for the first time since '96. There's not much you can do in that situation where you're the second game. And I'll tie that in a little bit to the watch party. Like, I think, because I went there to take it in.
Forgot about that.
And I'll give athletics a C+, strong C+ for the watch party.
High grade there for Mr. Sampson.
Well, I mean, I think it was mostly communication-wise, right? Like, when you went in, it wasn't clear. There was one announcement quietly. So I guess it was Rodney, but they felt like they stifled him. Like, it was just quiet. It was hard to tell. Hey, you can enter the ice through the benches to do the paint on the ice. And they were switching on the scoreboard like a Frozen 4 logo and roll to go down on the ice to do the paint the ice. And people loved to paint on the ice, and it worked. Mm-hmm. But it was 8:15, and there was 2 TVs in the one end zone that people knew had the game in front of them. But it was 8:15 or 8:20 before they acknowledged that the game in front of us publicly. Now, everybody had their phones out, but still, there's somebody who didn't know. So they publicly said, hey, the game in front of us is going into overtime. It will be delayed. And then it was probably 8:40 where they're getting ready to go in the second overtime. And they're like, hey, going into the second. And they showed that. They didn't show the first overtime on the screen, on the TV at all. Nothing from the first overtime. Nothing from the first game on the screen. That's weird. This is an arena full of people who came to watch hockey.
Right.
If your team wins, they're going to be playing one of them. They didn't show it until the second overtime, which lasted, less than a minute or whatever it was. And when they made the announcement that things would begin about an hour after the end of the first game, started to thin out a little bit. I
was going to ask that.
Because I didn't, again, I'm going to give guilt to say I had to come home and check on the dog, but at the same time, we're talking a late start for me. Not for I'd have stayed if it wouldn't have been for Guinness, probably just to see it, because I made it a class assignment in terms of things they would do operationally to grade my kids on. They gave suggestions. I just think they could have communicated better. And we have so many of those students who come from my college, the Belisario College, who are like the on-ice reporters and whatever. Do some stuff while we're waiting. Do some quizzes. Do some whatever. So I think solid C+. They had the regional trophy there.
Saw that. I saw some people take a picture
did some stuff they were supposed to, I think. But I think they could have communicated better and known this is hockey. There's a pretty good chance something's going overtime and we're going to have to vamp somewhere along the line. And it didn't seem like they had a plan pinned down for that. That's all. But great effort, good crowd. Decent little crowd to start.
Yeah, it looked like a good crowd. That is very weird that they didn't show the other games. That feels like
not until the start of the second overtime, which I just thought this cannot be hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No. So okay.
But kudos for the
Would you
effort.
do it
Good
again?
try.
Would you go again?
Yeah, I'd go again. I mean, it was fun. I mean, I met a couple from Altoona behind me. God bless them. They drove up from Altoona to watch it on the big screen. So
you're not getting back till late after that because the game.
No, I mean, I thought it was going to be all
12:30-ish.
freshmen and sophomores. There were families there, so yeah, I would go. I mean, they made an effort. It was fine. There were a couple things that maybe D-, right?
Okay.
But not much higher than that.
Okay. It hurt that it was a Thursday night in general, right? Like that's tough
help.
in general. Okay. Anything else hockey wise?
Oh,
okay.
Great season.
Yeah.
See what happens next. Got players signing contracts and things. Could be interesting.
We'll see what happens. All right. You asked me a question the other day. Do you recall a question? Sorry to put you on the spot.
It was somehow the gist of, hey, wrestling just won their national championship. Hockey's playing for a national championship, basically. What would be the next team, next Penn State team beyond those two to play for a national championship?
Is that it? Play for a national championship.
What did I write? What did I text?
That's what I was just trying to find it, but now I can't find it.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Or have the opportunity to be in a position to play, if we want to parse it. I guess what I was
You said wrestling and now hockey, question mark, for a future show topic. Which Penn State team will be the next to win a national championship?
Okay. I guess I went that far. Okay.
I think this is a good question. I thought about this. I think
can't be wrestling.
I was going to say we got to put that parameter on. That's too easy.
No wrestling next season.
That's the easiest, obvious one. I'm not going to sit here and give you my detailed breadth of knowledge of every Penn State sports team because I don't know that I could do that. I think that being said, I think there's a likely candidates. I think volleyball might be still one of them. Again, doing that again. But that, like, for as dynastic as that was in the 2000s, like that kind of feels wrestling-ish. I think hockey has a real shot, but I think that's probably, like, I think they can reach the Frozen Four again next season, particularly if the roster kind of holds up and the goaltending situation is ironed out. The one that I kind of keep coming back to, though, is Penn State men's lacrosse. And maybe that's the one that I want to win. And I think I said this today, like, and I've said this thousands of times now. There are two teams that really got screwed over by the success they were having in 2020: Penn State men's hockey and Penn State men's lacrosse. Like they took hits. And Penn State men's lacrosse now, what was that? Was that last season? 2 seasons ago, are an controversial goal away from going to the national championship. So I think that's my go-to answer for right now. And I don't think baseball, I just want to see them make a tournament. I don't. Women's soccer is the only other one that, like, they are always good enough to be in the equation. And I mean, they went to the College Cup this year, into the national semifinal. So they're always kind of sniffing around. But it just feels like, of the teams that are most due, Penn State men's lacrosse is the most due.
I think that's a good answer. I mean, I threw it out there as something we could talk about and then really didn't think about it because I didn't think
you tend to do that.
Men's lacrosse would be on my short list, right? Obviously. It's not basketball. It's not women's basketball. Not to be dismissive of football. It's probably not them next season. Women's volleyball could be tough again. I don't think I have as much confidence in them repeating as I do wrestling, as if that anybody would have that expectation of my team won a national championship. They're going to repeat next year. But maybe I would say women's soccer, just because they're always right there.
Right.
If you think about fall sports and what could be in a position to do something next, like just thinking calendar year, academic year. So yeah, I think I'll say women's soccer, just so it's different. But men's lacrosse wouldn't surprise me. In terms of boiling down the team, those are the teams that could next, beyond the ones that just won this year, who you kind of sort of expect to be back. Yeah, I think women's soccer. Who else I'd even have on that list?
So would you put
fencing maybe, but the fencing's not that. I don't think they're as good as they used to be, right? That kind of stuff. So
again, that's the sport that I have a blind spot on.
Not women's hockey? I mean, maybe that's the other one that would be there. Might be.
I'm glad you brought this up, and I was thinking about this actually, and they remind me a lot of Penn State men's volleyball in the sense that, this year they're trying to win the conference. For umpteen years, they've won the EIVA, right? Like they've hosted and win the EIVA. And then they go to the tournament, and some years they do a little bit of damage, and then some years they don't. And then other year they've won 2 national championships, 1, 2, can't remember, off the top of my head. And I kind of get the same vibe of that from where the hockey team, the women's hockey team, is positioned. But I think they could. They also put themselves in the best possible position. I don't know if they necessarily can put themselves best possible position to maximize the success, I guess would be the
That's
best
fair.
way to
I mean, and honestly, men's volleyball would kind of be on my list. I mean, I saw them play this year at Grand Canyon and have kind of followed a little bit. They've gotten better because at Grand Canyon they were just making unforced errors, and they were an athlete away. Like Grand Canyon had a big kid who was really good, plus Penn State was making mistakes. And I don't know what's going to happen with those kind of sports in the next couple of years either, right? In terms of availability of players or who's going to invest more or not in certain places. Like it feels that a place like Penn State with 31 sports, that could be a sport that we might not invest in as much and might be happy to have. And I don't know if the window will close, but I don't feel that they're that far away. If something, one more right player next season, I'm like, oh, there they are.
Well, and I mean,
contenders again.
You look at Max Holt, Matt Anderson, like that's what they were with those teams. Is like they were a player. Those were the players that put them in. I mean, those guys have been on every Olympic team.
And it's not like there's 100 volleyball teams. There's 25 or 30 volleyball teams. Right. So to get there to the top, you don't have to fight over call over as many teams.
I guess the team that I did kind of accidentally remove, because I think we've been talking so much about the Olympic sports, is football. I would put football second on my list just for the expectations of next season. But I can also understand your argument of like putting them in third place. And I think they're the one that I want to win the national championship the most, though, as well.
And they're the one that would make the most difference for the athletic program if they win the national championship, right? Like it'd be a game, reestablishment of what they are, all those kinds of things.
Yeah. No. Okay. That's good. That's a good question. Anything else there?
Nope. Ready for the big reveal?
So I was just gonna say it is time. Let me find my mouse as I click over to the spreadsheet. First off, I want to say thank you to everybody that voted. We basically quadrupled the number of people that submitted names to people that voted. Blew me and Steve away. Just absolutely impressive. And I think came up with an extremely strong list and pretty darn close to the list that I would consider. And I want to talk through maybe some potential snubs here as well. But we narrowed it down to 17 people that have made the inaugural class. Going to read them alphabetically, not by the order of which they got votes, just to be clear. I'm going to read all the names, and then we can kind of chat through some of these people, and you can explain why. We can explain why we think they deserve. A couple of things. Remember that we capped the number of football players or football people, I guess would be the best way to say that, at 6. So that keep that in mind. And I think what happened was, because we did that, I think we got this like diversity of sports that we really wanted. Because again, there are 31 sports teams at Penn State, not just football, and all of them made a strong impact. So here we go. You ready, Steve?
Yep.
Okay. I'll insert a drum roll there in post. First person, Jesse Arnell. Second person, LeVar Arrington, Saquon Barkley, John Capoletti, Barney Ewell, Fran Fisher, Jack Ham, Franco Harris, Megan Hodge, Allie Krieger, Susie McConnell-Serio, Charlene Moret Curtis, Bo Nickel, Joe Paterno, Russ Rose, David Taylor, and Gene Whetstone. That is your inaugural class for the Penn State Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you to everybody that voted. All right. Any of those names surprise you, Steve? Any of those names? Like, oh, no.
Uh-uh.
I think all logically make a lot of sense. I think
there's not much recency bias.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think the Saquon was the one name you were anxious about because you pointed to the recency bias there, but just the closeness of Saquon plus the Eagles coming off winning a Super Bowl championship, and there might be some bias.
Well, they won a Big Ten championship. I mean, that's the high water mark for the past decade or so, right? And he was the running back. So no, Saquon. I guess my pain point would have been if somehow Capoletti didn't make the list and Saquon did. Okay. I mean, that would have been the only thing,
right?
But for me,
that's not what happened. Steve.
But that's not what happened, right?
Exactly. No, I think, like you said, I think we've got a football player from the 2010s. We've got one from the 90s, the 70s, 80s, 70s, and then a coach from 60 whatever it was. So I think we got a good smattering of football people there. There are certainly some names on here that you could make the case would be on. And there were some names that we had to, because we capped it, they were not in the top 6, but were in the top collective group of vote getters. But that's what next year is for. I think Jack Ham is the football player that I would, and I know that was the football player I voted for first, so to speak. Like that would be my number one. And I think Capoletti would be my number 2 of football people that you have to, like, if we're kind of building a Mount Rushmore, so to speak, of the Hall of Fame. I think Joe Paterno has to be in it. But I think we also, and we do this on the blog. And yes, to mention, we do have a component on the blog that will be up by the time you're listening to this. That'll be out and live. We do acknowledge the way his career ended, and I think that was important. But I think we got a great list of football people there. I think that I'm glad that people put Shar and Susie McConnell in. I think Shar for everything that she has done for Penn State field hockey in particular, but really I think writ large Penn State women's sports period. I think to me is a first ballot person. Like if we're considering it that way, and I think that's a great name. And Megan Hodge, going back to the dynasty of volleyball, I think that's a good one. And then of course you can't not have Russ Rose. I think Russ was the number 2 vote getter behind Joe Paterno, and it was pretty much the same number of votes, and it was almost unanimous there on those people making it in. Anyone else you want to chat through on that list?
No, I think they all made, all those ones that made it made sense, right? Like I wrote the road up for Susie. Susie was the best basketball player on campus when I was there. And I said that in front of some men's players a couple of weeks ago, like some of that era, and nobody really questioned me. Maybe not again. Maybe they just thought that was me popping off. But no, it's a representative group. I think people did a good job with different sports. Shar would have been great to see as a player. I mean, she was world class as a player, and then all the national championships and success as a coach, and then leading women's athletics in general. I mean, she had some shoulders to stand on in terms of women's athletics. So I think that's something that shows up in the future with contributors and other coaches and things like that. And yeah, I think for a first effort, these are, I don't know who you'd argue. Like if you're going to tell me you're putting somebody else on, I'm not quite sure who you're taking off. So that makes me feel comfortable with it. And I'm sure somebody will let us know who we should put on and take off. And that's what we're here for. So,
and that's what next year is here for as well. Yep. This is not a one-time thing. This is going to live on the blog forever. And we'll see where we go with it. And I'm hoping and eager to see the reaction. That being said, there are some names that did not get in.
So who's on your list? Who should have been there? Or who could have been on there?
I think we got correct. I think Jesse Arnau being on there is the correct basketball person to be on there. But it felt very, like, I voted for him, and it felt very hard not to see Taylor Battle end up on this list, because I think he deserved a legitimate shot. The other name that came to mind, Shane Conlon probably deserves to be on there. just because of the 80s era of his impact on football. And there was another name that didn't dawn on me until very recently, and I went back and he did get a couple nominees. And I also recently learned he lived in Altoona for part of his life. Bill Jeffrey, of Jeffrey Field namesake.
Yep.
Just for his impact on soccer. I think this is one of the struggling or challenging pieces is when you go back and like look at the initial history, like Buzz Killinger, right? Like he probably should be in this, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. But that was such a long time ago that like maybe that's where the quote unquote recency bias. So those would be I think those are my three that I feel like weren't, I don't want to say misses, but I feel like had a legitimate shot to be in there or deserve to be in there from the get-go.
Okay. And I asked you for 3, and I might say 4 now that you've jogged my memory on Bill Jeffrey. Todd Blackledge, first national championship winning quarterback, right? Academic All-American, like the poster child for whatever they were doing, and the quarterback for the first national championship team. To me, like there's some cachet for that, even though numbers might not be the same, although they passed for more yards and they ran that year famously, blah, 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 blah. Toss a coin and pick a Hodge Trophy winner from wrestling that probably, whether it's Aaron Brooks or Zane Rutherford, like I'm surprised one of those wasn't, and maybe will be coming forward, right?
Well, so in Aaron Brooks, we have to wait on because he's, but I think
right. Okay, that's right. We had the time. Okay, so and I don't think that. I mean, I think we did. I think with Nickel and Taylor, I think I'm okay with them above it. I think that's fine. Susan Robinson, I just think, but real close. I mean, you know, and then the other one when you mentioned Jeffrey, you know, like Walter Barr. Although I don't know if his fame is more with the 50 U.S. Olympic team in terms of. I mean, I think at Penn State it's there and merits it, but he'd be another one that's kind of skews a little older that maybe we didn't think about, but. For the most part, and I'm sure there's a ton of football players. There's a bunch of women's volleyball players that'll make next year's group kind of fun to discuss. In some ways, I think next year might be even harder than this year.
Well, and I was thinking about that as we pulled off this list. Like these are all, every single one of these names is extremely obvious to me, and it's not that those other people aren't obvious. It's like the differentiation between number 10 and number 11, if that's how we do it.
Right now you're splitting more hairs when you get
right,
there. Exactly.
And that's when it gets a little bit tougher. There, the other name that as we went through the women's basketball, Kelly Mazzani probably is the other name that did not surprise me or surprises me that she is not on here. And she got a decent number of nominations, but Susie kind of
right. I mean, Kelly's that second generation. Well. Second and a half generation, right? But they're filling the Jordan Center with her, and they make a Final Four, right? So you know,
I think like I said, I think this list turned out pretty much not exactly as I thought per se, but at least exactly how I wanted it to. And I appreciate everyone there, and I'm glad that we got Fran Fisher in there because I think it's essential to have a media person or somebody that was essential to telling Penn State's story. I think would be a good way to describe that because I think that is in so many ways that a memory with Franco is important or a memory of LeVar playing or Saquon playing, like the memory for your generation in particular of hearing Fran call a game on the radio.
He was the connection to generations of fans, right? Yeah. I mean, as you say, Franco's probably in terms of running back statistics, as a running back, he's not there just for that, right?
Correct.
So you could make that argument, but his stepping up in the wake of the Paterno thing and being a champion and being present for all the things and being an ambassador, you know, is also a contribution to Penn State.
I think in a lot of ways, I think that's a good way of putting it. Like Franco in particular is kind of one of those like ultimate Penn Staters, and maybe the same way that Fran is. Mm-hmm. I consider him to be one of those ultimate kind of Penn Staters that beyond, and I think your Todd Blackledge point is actually a very good point because and maybe it's he's a little bit better of a steward of college football writ large, but I think that's a good way to put it, and I think that comes through. I think that there's a good balance of that here as well. So yeah,
no, people care. I mean, I think that's the thing, and I think as you offer feedback or whatever else, hey, we want to hear it, and you know. Let's help us to frame next year because people certainly care, and that was the best part about it. Hopefully, it was fun for people doing it and fun to debate it now that it's there.
Yeah, so we will. So it's up on the blog. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, it's up on the blog. we will do this again next year, I think is the best way to say it. And I think we'll do it probably around this time, maybe leading into blue white next year as well. Just because then that cuts down on the chaos that is. But I think yeah, really appreciate everybody helping out here. I think we did a nice job, everyone. Proud of everyone. Good job. Cool. It was really cool to see. I think the cool thing about this project in particular, like we do those surveys and we get a lot of responses, but I think we got the most responses we've ever gotten for something. And it was very cool to like see people react to it and then like have an opinion on this. So it was neat to have that happen. So appreciate that a lot. Another good idea from Steve Samsel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Chalk it up that. I think it was a team effort, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. This week's old guy, young guy. Are you ready? It's not stressful. It's not.
No, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Okay.
You didn't tell me I had to sit down. You didn't tell me there was a quiz. You didn't tell me they were Taylor Swift songs. So I might be in good shape.
You're in good shape. I was puttering around Costco tonight, and I thought, what does the Samsel family, if anything, buy in bulk?
Oh, that's a fair point. Paper towels, right? Like there's always like those big things, toilet paper, those big things. Cheese from Costco. Big fan of they have like a big chunk of like cheese that we discovered when we went to Ireland and Scotland. Like so Costco, Susan goes to Costco at South Bend because we don't have one here, right? So when she's there, and if she's flying, this isn't very good. But if she's driving, she'll take a cooler. I'm like, get the good cheese, get that good sharp cheese. I bought applesauce in bulk today because one of our daughters wants it. So
let's clarify there because there's a huge difference in buying applesauce in bulk. Is it one giant vat of applesauce?
Oh, no, it's 12 things from Waste Fruit Farm. It's a case from Waste Fruit Farm.
Okay. So it's
because
like
I'm going to send 8 of them down the road to Virginia because grandkids like it, right?
Okay.
So I think that we're not like it's not like we have hordes and hordes of stuff on hand. I mean, we've got stuff we can from the garden. Yes, I don't know. Like the paper products, I guess, is answer A. What about you guys?
We buy our biggest thing. The thing that I am most proud of my Costco membership for is the fact that we have lived in this house for 5 years this May, and we have bought trash bags twice.
Oh, okay.
Twice. We had trash bags. In fact, it was this year. The last time before, like, I think it was February that we bought trash bags was 2023.
So how many trash bags did you buy in 2023?
I don't know. It comes with like 6 million. Like it's this never ending roll of trash bags. And like there's 2 of us here, so we don't go through that much trash.
Right.
And I do know like when we have guests over or like family in town, like our trash volume goes up. I feel like I'm taking the trash out a lot more often, but it's just 2 of us. So we don't buy much in bulk outside of that. The big thing we also get at Costco, dishwasher pods.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
That's our big one.
Yes.
If I think we would do more meat if Anna ate meat, but because she doesn't eat meat, we don't like it. It's just pointless for me to do that. And I know you guys get a cow?
Yeah, we'll cheat, right? We'll split a cow with the kids or my parents or whatever. So that's kind of cheating. And I can't do too much because in the back of my head now, Danny's friend Sarah, who's one of the many third daughters in our life, right? Like is a chef and that does food sales for one of the big food companies that serves restaurants and stuff. And she was here maybe a year and a half ago for something. And I'm like getting something out of the freezer. And she's like, how long has that been in there? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, this is the same conversation with my parents, Steve. It is not a time machine. It's not. It's a freezer. It's not a time machine. So like there's some stuff that I think, we buy in bulk. We'll get to it sometime. But in the back of my head with food stuff, I'm hearing Sarah tell me it's not a time machine. So
yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. I struggle with that in general. Like the big planks of salmon, the like 8 pounds of salmon that you can get. We don't need that. But there are like, I do think like in terms of a Costco membership, and I guess you probably have Sam's Club. Like we can make it work. It's just we have to know what to buy and what to buy.
You have to have a strategy. There's stuff that's a bargain, stuff that's not. And Susan for Susan at Sam's Club is the gas, right? Like because you get and then Costco the gas too if we go see Sam or whatever else. But I'm very much on the like, okay, it's over in Sam's Club's it's the mall. It's basically Bellefonte for us, right? So till I drive there and drive back, like, am I really saving that much? Is the 40 cents I'm going to save at 4 cents a gallon on 10 gallons? Do I need to drive the extra half hour for 40 cents? You know?
That's true. That's true.
So I can be contrary in that way sometimes, but
okay.
I don't get this good a deal either. So
The gas thing was a good deal for a while for us, and then we have like this one sketchy gas station that has really cheap gas near us. So that's
it's just saying, as long as it's the same gas and the cars keep running.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And you go get your gas at daylight time, right? Like, is that what you're telling me? Is that sketchy?
It's not. No, it's not sketchy in that way. It's sketchy in the. I'm not sure how this is a functioning business. When you go inside, the guy has a lot of knives for sale. I think.
Well, the one by us does too. So is it sketchier than the Sheets by FSK Mall?
They've redone that sheet, Steve. They have redone.
They have. Okay, I'm sorry. We talked about that. Okay, never mind.
They have redone.
Look, the Samsel children were scarred by that place, like stopping at the way home from the beach because it was the last. You get through DC, you don't have to stop, and we're stopping there, and it's like 3 a.m. and dark and whatever else. And they're like, I'm not getting out of the car.
It's a pain in the ass to get in and out of. That's the only thing that's annoying about that sheet.
Okay. We don't want to beat them up. We like Sheets.
We do like Sheets. They just won. My mom was fired up about that. She did not think that the MTO is the best thing that's in.
I saw that
thing, and I think it is. I think it's up there. Because I
did she offer a suggestion for what wasn't, or was she one of those people that just said take it off the list? This is better. This isn't better.
I think she said Meadows ice cream.
Okay, she's not wrong.
Which I would argue with creamery ice cream. I can't remember what else she said. She said something else. So people commented Benzel's pretzels in Altoona also. The Malacup is definitely not, though. I'm sorry. The Malacup is not good. The only good one is the peanut butter cup one from Boyer Candy.
It's just because you don't like the Malacup.
Do you like a Malacup?
No, I would probably like peanut butter better. I'm not just
exactly.
I mean, I'll eat coconut eggs in the next week, like those. Susan doesn't like coconut rice. I'll have to sneak one of those somewhere. But yeah.
No.
Old guy mixing like his fruit and his chocolate.
Yeah, no.
Or whatever that is.
No, that's gross. Okay. That's this week's podcast. Oh, we covered a lot there. That was a wide-ranging episode. That's what you get when you listen to this podcast. So the podcast also has a website. Like I said, this week we will have the Hall of Fame. It will be on the. I'll probably leave that the homepage or as the homepage or not as the homepage. The header hero post for a couple days this week. We'll find a more permanent way for that to live on the top of the blog. I haven't quite figured that out. Like where the like it says the blog, the podcast, the stuff with Steve and then Penn State football. Haven't quite figured out how that's going to work, but we'll have that. I will also add that we now have every single game result from Penn State football history on the website. If you go to the bottom of the football hub, which is just click Penn State football, and scroll down, you can go look at every decade. It kind of maybe kicked off a little project idea that I might want to do. So we'll see about that. Because there were some really fascinating results between teams that they played and also like the 1 year when Penn State only allowed 6 points, which was interesting to me. So stuff like that we'll take a look at. But yeah, that's the gist of the blog. That's the gist of everything out there right now. Anything coming from you this week, Steve? No pressure. I'm not.
Maybe yes.
Okay. All right.
Maybe some media transfer portal stuff.
Okay. All right. Fired up about that. Read a couple good things about the whole Tennessee and Nico thing, and kind of was nicely reminded that by I think it was Nate Bauer. That it's a very similar situation that happened with Keandre Lambert-Smith. I thought that was good. I thought Porman's thing this morning was very good about the kind of the leadership and the various hot trending coaches right now at Penn State. I thought that was good. So give those a shout out. Be sure to read those.
Would you be? I just do the portal stuff. Would you be surprised at all if a name of some sort from the Penn State football program were submitted their name to the portal in the next 2 days? Like, would that be surprising to you? I have no idea. I'm just curious. Like, would that be surprising to you if somebody who, I don't know, feels stuck, does something else, looking for better stuff?
Bolt clearly has some thoughts about it. Clearly he's all fired up about it. No, because I think we said this before. I've accepted it. Like, I've embraced it. I guess would be the best way to say how I feel about the portal. Like,
okay, good.
Like, this is a part of the, not problem, but it's a part of the equation now, and it's a part of being a college football fan. Would be the best way to say that. So no. So anyways, the dogs are going to lose their mind. Anna's walking in the door. That's why the dogs are losing their mind. But in the meantime, if you want to lose your mind and go discover the blog, you can do that at stuffsummersays.com. On that website, there's a section called With Steve. Let's see. What else? 5 stars, thumbs up. Please like and subscribe. All of that. Please like and subscribe. We have emails. Mine's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com.
Perfect. Steve, we were going to talk a little bit of football next week because next week's blue white game.
Nice.
That's good. Knock up on us this year. But in the meantime, you can find me on the internet at Stuff Summer Says. You can find Steve
at Steve Samsel.
See ya. Bye.